Steve here. It's Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Time for a geopolitical audit. We have to look outside our own backyard, look at the global board, because what's happening over there, it's going to hit us hard right here at home. We are talking about China's Belt and Road Initiative.
All right, let's start with a number we all know, $39 trillion. That's the mountain of paper debt the U.S. is sitting on right now. And while Washington is absolutely obsessed with how to service its own IOUs, Beijing, well, they've been playing a completely different game, a much, much longer game.
And this is their number, $1.4 trillion. That's what China has systematically poured into its Belt and Road Initiative. It's a web of influence they've been spinning across some 150 countries for more than a decade now. See, they're not just printing money, they're deploying capital.
And right there, that's the fundamental conflict of our era. You've got America stacking up promises to pay, while China is stacking up the actual physical assets that will define the future. It's paper versus steel, financial instruments versus tangible infrastructure.
And you better believe this isn't some global charity project. No way. It's a masterclass in raw geopolitical leverage. Beijing is building the very plumbing of the world economy. We're talking ports, railways, pipelines, and you can be damn sure every single one of those pipes leads right back to them. Okay, so forget the concrete and the steel for a second. The real game, the one that's unfolding as we speak in 2026, it's a lot quieter. It's a lot more subtle. It's the digital Silk Road. And this is the silent takeover. You see, China's not just paving roads on land anymore. They're laying the fiber optic cables under the oceans. They're putting up the 5G towers and building out the data centers for the entire global south. And this is the real kicker. They are setting the technical standards that will govern global data and trade for the next 100 years.
Because there's a fundamental principle at play here. When you build the infrastructure, you get to set the rules. Period. You control the encryption, you control the flow of data, you write the regulations that everyone else has to follow. What they're doing is building a digital fortress, one that completely bypasses Western-controlled satellites and servers. It's a whole new playbook, a kind of tech diplomacy. They're not trading IOUs for debt, they're trading them for total digital access and control.
But of course, all this digital dominance, it's built on a very physical, very financial reality. And that brings us to the elephant in the room, debt distress. See, a lot of these nations taking these massive loans, they can't pay them back. But that's not a flaw in the plan. It's a feature. It's called the debt for equity trap.
The mechanism itself is brutally simple, a debt for equity swap. When a country defaults, Beijing doesn't send in the collectors. No. It sends in the negotiators, and they offer to wipe the entire debt clean. All they ask for in return is one thing: equity, an ownership stake in a strategic asset.
And here's exactly how it works. First, the loan is issued for some massive project. Then, almost inevitably, the country defaults. That's the trigger for the swap. Suddenly, that unpayable debt gets exchanged for the asset itself, usually in the form of a 99-year lease. The port of Hambantota in Sri Lanka, that's the textbook example of turning a bad loan into a permanent strategic foothold.
And they're not just taking ports anymore. The big pivot, which really kicked into gear last year, is all about securing critical resources. We're watching it happen all across Central Asia and Africa. They're locking up the lithium mines, the cobalt reserves, the copper deposits, everything you need for the next industrial revolution.
So let's call it what it is. It's strategic colonization, done through the balance sheet. And while we in the West are busy arguing about our own debt ceiling, China is out there quietly buying up the literal geography of the future.
So why should any of this matter to you, to your portfolio? Because all of these moves, the physical assets, the digital fortress, the resource grabs, they're all coalescing to create something new. A parallel economy, a system designed to be a bypass. Right around America.
Right now, the S&P is sitting at 6740. But that number, it reflects a system that is now being fundamentally challenged from the outside. The very ground we're standing on is shifting. What the Belt and Road is creating is a self-sufficient, closed-loop trade block. It's a block that doesn't need the U.S. consumer to buy its stuff, and more, doesn't need the U.S. dollar to do business. Every time China locks down another resource, every time it secures another trade route, it becomes that much less vulnerable to American sanctions, to American financial pressure. What we are witnessing is the world decoupling, in real time. The new Silk Road, It's the bypass around the entire American financial system.
So I'll leave you with this one thought. In a world that is drowning in paper promises and digital entries on a ledger, watch the infrastructure, because it's the only thing that's more permanent than debt. This is Steve. I'll see you at the Open.